Meine Leute refers Norman Corolea Bestomer Shmuel von Ben Yudis Yudis Basrif Kaplina Chayvas Gola Rochel Reuven Yaakov and Golda Esther Gabriel Batzor Chana Batzima Tomo Basnomi Beila Ziso in Bar Bas Yoel Tzviel and Ben Denis Shalom Yosef Ben Hinda Reilu Nishmas of Imoyer Menachem Ben Akiva Ruth Bas Shalom Sol Bas Moshe. And we are in Rav Kahana Omar. Yesterday we spoke about a case in which a person finds a shtar in the street, and that shtar was written for the same day. Yeah, it is Yud Aleph Elul Tafshin Pei Beis, and you found the shtar that says on it today. The shtar was written today. Yud Aleph Elul Tafshin Pei Beis. So there, Rabbi Yochanan, although usually Rabbi Yochanan is very wary of returning to the malve, because he's concerned maybe really the loan was paid already, and the right, if the loan was paid, that is to say, if you give it at the hands of the malve, then what's going to be? Then he's going to collect again unfairly. Usually he's concerned about that, but if it's for the same day, then he's not concerned. So one reason we said yesterday was it's very unlikely for people to pay on the same day that they borrowed. You borrow money, usually, not always, but usually you borrow money to stay for longer. You need it for a few days at least. Usually, yeah, there are exceptions. Rav Kana gives a different reason to Rabbi Yochanan. He's not arguing with Rabbi Yochanan. He's explaining Rabbi Yochanan's statement in a different way. Rav Kana Omar, Shechayav Moide. Rav Kana says, Kshechayav Moide. What does it mean, Kshechayav Moide? When the person who owes the money admits, he says, yes, the loiva says, I really borrowed. I borrowed from the person. I borrowed from Reuven, whoever. So I have to pay the money. Yeah, so give it back to the malve. Track the Gemara, Ihachi Ma'ila Memra. What's a chiddush? Of course. If the malve obviously says I'm owed, and the loiva says I owe, then ashidach, gesundheit. So what's the problem? What's a chiddush? Says the Gemara, answers the Gemara, Ma'odete Mahai Mitra Pare. This one really, maybe the loiva did pay back already. The loiva is lying, saying that he didn't pay, even though he did pay already. What? What does that mean? You know why he says loy porati? You know why he says that he didn't really pay? He wants to reuse the shtar again and borrow with it another time. He wants to use the same shtar twice, which is illegal, which is not good, as we explained yesterday. Basically, we are concerned, according to Rav Kahana, that the milva was already paid today in the morning, let's say. In the afternoon, he wants to borrow again with the same shtar. And that's why he agrees, and he says, yes, give it to him, because he knows he's anyhow about to ask the malve for another loan. Why would you use the same shtar twice? What's his business? What for? Says the Gemara, poor man, he doesn't have money, or is a miser, or is a whatever that is a cheapskate, yeah? And therefore, he doesn't want to pay the pshiti the safa. What's pshiti the safa? The money you pay the scribe. He wants to use the same thing twice. Maybe he believes in recycling. He cares about the penguins in Alaska, right? He wants to recycle the shtar, wants to use the same shtar twice, and therefore what? And therefore, that's what he wants to do, and we don't perpetuate it. We don't hold by that. Why? Because we said yesterday, if a shibud is like, I'll give you a good emotional kiddushin. When a man says "Arat mukudeshesli" to wife, yeah, then it doesn't apply to another wife, only to her. In other words, the act of writing a shtar and creating shibud applies to those karkois, to those pieces of land, and that halva. It's one shtar per halva. The same shtar can't be reused for another halva because the power of ksiva shtar with the edim only works for one shibud, for one set of things. Kamash malan comes Rabbi Yochanan and tells me, no, we're not concerned to all that. We're not concerned for all that. Don't think that this shtar is a recycled shtar, and that's why, even though both sides agree, maybe there's something fishy over here, and then when we reuse the shtar. Says Rabbi Yochanan, do return it to the original malve. You know why? The imken malve gufe loy shovak. A malveh would not allow that to happen. The malveh would not be happy to use the same shtar twice. A shtar used for one halva 9 o'clock in the morning, and let's say did return it quickly, he wants another loan, maybe with better conditions, from the bank. We're not concerned of a reused, recycled shtar. Why not? The Malva would not allow it. Sova, he thinks, Shami Berabonon, the rabbis will hear about it. Beis Din will hear about my shtar. Shtars, I guess, were monitored. People know when there's a shtar written, it's famous. Rabbanon may hear about my shtar, and they will cause me a loss. They will disqualify my shtar. They will realize that my shtar, by the way, this is not a shtar mukdam, and that's all vort over here. Rabbi Yochanan Dafka spoke about the shtar, which is not mukdam, it's the same day. If tomorrow I want to take a loan from yesterday's shtar or from today's shtar, that's another problem of shtar mukdam that we discussed and we'll discuss again. That's a very, very famous one. Shtar mukdam is you can't use an old shtar for a later milva, even though it's one milva only. If the milva is after the shtar, cannot do that because of all the lukuchas. All the people who bought land from the loiva, they're losing unjustifiably. It's not the case here. Here it's the same day. Elamai, the mere fact of using the same shtar for two alvos is wrong. The malve would not collaborate with that. Chachami will make me lose, and therefore we're not concerned. And as long as it's not a shtar mukdam, meaning it's written the same day, but it's a reused shtar, to that we're not choshesh that maybe it's reused. Because the reused shtar, the Malva would say, why should I get my cup into a sick bed? And Chachamim would hear about it, and they would make my shtar completely null, and I would lose all my money. He'll stay with the money, and I'll stay, with a high and dry. Okay, a quick one. I prefer. Is it Nagat what we just said now or no? Right? Is it connected to what we just learned now? Yeah. One of the cases was discussed. Frag the Gemara. The Gemara now asks the following question. What's the difference between this case and another case? The Tanan, the case of the Mishnah, the first Mishnah that got us into all this trouble. The first Mishnah that got us into this jungle of shtaros, finding a shtar. What did that Mishnah say? Let's remember the Bereshis. The person found a shtar chov in the streets. If those stars have a chayes nechosim, meaning it's written, or even if it's not written, if the shtar contains what does mean a chayes? Warranty, guarantee, security, you name it, that in case I don't pay you, automatically you go to my lands and to my sold lands, and you may attack, charge from the lekuchos. Lo yachzir. Don't give it back to who? Right, Ellen? Like you said, to anybody. Why? V'ukimna keshechayev moide. According to one explanation of Ravasi, even if the chayev is moide, even if the person that's the alleged chayev, the one who owes the money, he says, yes, I did borrow. No, such an ideal situation. Malva and loive, in the gefen, bin the gefen. They both agree that there's alva. Why didn't you return it to the malva? Right? Why not? And what did we say? Umishum shema kosav lilvos benisan v'loilova ad tishrei. Oh, we're concerned of a shtar mukdam, not a mazid shtar mukdam that they forged, but the person, the loiver, wrote the halva, the shtar, in Nisan, Tafshin Pei Aleph, and he really only borrowed in Tishrei Tafshin Pei Beis. So what's the problem with the shtar mukdam? Because I keep hammering you shtar mukdam. That's a problem. He may come to charge from the lekuchos everybody who bought from the loiva pieces of land from between Nisan and Tishrei. Do they really have to get rid of the land? No, because they bought before the loan took place. Yet the shtar is a very, very misleading shtar, showing what? It's as if people change the date in their computer. It's as if what? It's as if already they owe and have to give back the lands because the milva is misrepresented, as if the halva was before their purchase. And that's shaloi kedin. In other words, we're choshesh that the malva and loiva are laughing in the corner, saying, ha 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 ha. Here we have a shtar mukdam, right? And all those lekuchos who bought all the fancy houses of the loive in Kisaria, Kfar Shmariyahu, in Savion, Bel Air, Five Towns, they bought all these nice houses, right, between Pesach and Tishrei, and that we're concerned that the Malva and the Loiva are laughing, and we are, giving back to the Malva against the Lekuchos. Hey, wait a second. That's Apostle de Kishtar. And over there, from some odd reason, oh, we don't say over there that the Malva is this cutesy, nicey, law-abiding person who says, I don't want to have my hands in something illegal. Over there, from some reason, we say that the Malva would cooperate. The Omer Leksov Shtar Achrina B'Tishrei. We don't say that he tells Mr. Loive, hey, I don't want to have any dirty business, any suspicious business. Write me another star in Tishrei. Yeah, what's the story? In Tishrei, he comes and says, oh, Yom Kippur is coming, and I need a loan. Have mercy. I have a star from half a year ago. And from some reason, we say that the Malva says, a half a year ago? That's nice. I like that. Shtar from half a year ago. That's cool. I have 6 more months and many more houses to charge from. And we don't say that he's scared and law-abiding, and he says maybe Chachami will catch, and therefore write me a new star now. Give me a star with the right date. The deal Mashami Rabbanu Mafsadili. From some reason, he's not scared. Maybe Chachamim will hear about it and cause me a loss. Why? Why over here by a reused star? We say he will not cooperate, and we assume that a star who's found today is not a recycled one, even though it's like too good to be truth. Everyone's agreeing, and we say no, we're not concerned because the Malva won't cooperate. And why is it by star mukdam we say that he would cooperate with a lie, with a bad star? What's the difference? A very easy difference. There's call in both. Why? No, there was no call star without halva. You mean? No, but why wouldn't he cooperate? Mitzido of the Malva. I'm not saying mitzad the absolute truth. Very, very easy psychological reason. Amri, they say. Awesome, over there, the early star, tell me, people, you don't have to be a criminologist. When do people commit crime? I don't mean if they have, traumas. People commit crime and the risk being in jail, and the risk even dying in some countries, because it's worth it for them. You want me to rob the bank? Maybe I'll really win, 100 million from robbing the bank and quickly run away to the Bahamas. So maybe the police will catch me taking the risk. That's only if I'm gaining something, right? If I rob a bank and all there is in the bank is 10 shekels, I won't risk it. Answers the Gemara. Awesome over there. He is willing to risk his reputation and his money and Chachomim police catching him because he has a gain over there in the Shtar Mukdam. The Katorif Lekuchos, because then he can go and charge and take money, charge all the lands of all the Lekuchos, Nisan Tishrei. From Nisan till Tishrei, he has many more, he has a much wider selection of lands to take from. If I would write the Shtar from Tishrei, then which lands do I have? Only the lands that you have now. But what about all the lands that you sold in the past half year? I won't have them. But now that you write me an early star, that's yummy. I'm going to get all the lands, potentially, all these nice houses you sold before the halva, prior to the halva, from Nisan, from 6 months ago. That's a heck of a gain. So, then it's good for him. By the way, he keeps quiet. He gets a star with the wrong date, and from some odd reason, he just sort of doesn't say anything. In case there's a CCTV, nobody will see that he actually said, okay, he just quietly agrees to that yummy piece of 6 months more of houses. I Chachomim may catch him. Crime. You take a risk, in order to gain. That's the name of the game, and we're choshesh for that. So in such a case of such a star of the Mishnah, there we are concerned maybe poor lekuchos are losing. Over here, but the recycled one for the same day. Remember, the unique thing in our sugya, it's the same day star. It was written today, and I found it today. Kevin the Leisler Rav is not gaining anything. He's not gaining anything. Why? Because there are no more lekuchos in between. Very unlikely, and also it doesn't make a difference. The same date. The stars, we don't go by hours. It doesn't make a difference. It's 9 o'clock or 12 o'clock. My halacha doesn't believe in hours in that respect. Mimel is not gaining anything. Why the soif shtar ha'idna ksiv? At the end of the day, the shtar ha'idna is written for today. It's written for today. Today's today. Yeah. So any land sold before today, you were, what do you mean you're losing? You have no right to access to, and anything afterwards you have anyways. You, the malde, you're gaining zero by him being a miser and using the same shtar twice. Absolutely nothing. Mika de katar flukuchas b'shtar shenim chal shiabudoi, to be toyer flukuchas and shtar that's been already nimchal, meaning a used shtar where the shibud has been already expired. Loy shavik. Yeah, to be your partner in crime and gain nothing? Mapito, think I'm stupid. Yeah, I'm not foolish to cooperate with you on your shtuyot. You're a miser or you're poor. You're abusing me. You want to do a crime and what am I getting? Nothing? No way. Therefore, we're not choshesh. And therefore, if it's the same day shtar, says Rabbi Yochanan, even if both sides agree and it all looks too cutesy, so what? The Maisa makes sense. So really, the Oive is Moide. He's a good guy. The Malve is a good guy. They agree. You give it to the Malve, and you're not choshesh to a recycled, as I call it, because the Malve would not agree to that. He has no gain. He can only lose and no gain. And that's our not choshesh, and that's about it. Now we will listen to questions, commercials during Coke. Omar B'chia Bar Abi, Omar B'chia Bar Abba, Omar B'Yochanan. Now we're going to have a small taste of kesubos. There's a tractate called Kesubos in the Talmud. Yeah, and now we're going to learn about kesubos, and it has to do also with our previous sugya. Omar B'chia Bar Abba, Omar B'Yochanan. Remember the names. Rabbi B'chia Bar Abba quotes Rabbi Yochanan. Atoyen acha maise bezdin. Maise bezdin means maise bezdin are debts the one owes his friend, actually his female friend, his wife. Yeah, he owes her without him having to write it. It's called ksuba. The minimum amount of ksuba, either mone if she's an almona, or masaim if she's a besula, yeah, if she was never married, so the basic amount that a man owes his wife under the Jewish chupah, yeah, that amount, even if he did not write her the ksuba, he still owes her that amount of money in case of divorce or being a widow. And also the mezoinos, which means after his death, Chachami made it a kono that he has to support his wife after death, meaning the children will support her. Yeah, alimony it's called. Yeah, whatever, alimony. What's it called? No, it's not. That's after divorce. That's divorce. No. Well, that's not the case. No, alimony sounds like almana, by the way. So after she's an almana, she gets to eat from his food of the children. I'm sure they don't like it. And also the girls, her daughters, also until they get married, they eat from the Yerusha until they get married. All these, especially the ksuba, the basic part of the ksuba, is called maise bezdin. This is something the bezdin would force you to give your wife, whether you like it or not, and whether you wrote it or didn't write it. Let's say somebody got married without a ksuba, which is a terrible thing. Yeah, they skipped ksuba. It was a time of war, Ukraine. I don't know. They get married there nowadays. I don't know. No ksuba. So then still the ksuba conceptually applies. In case of divorce, you'll have to give it to her. I'm reading again. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba Amar B'Yochanan. Hatoyen achar ma'ase bezdin. What do you mean toyen? Comes Mr. Husband and he said, you know, dear wife, after the divorce, she comes and she tells him, where's my ksuba? And he claims, I paid it already. Similar to the cases we had before, right? From yesterday. I paid you the ksuba. Loy omar klum. He did not say anything. What does that mean? We don't believe him, even with Shvuas Heses. Usually, if I come to him and say, Ellen, where's the money? And Ellen says, I paid or don't owe, then Shvuas Heses, you're off the hook. Over here, with the husband and wife, they gave the wife extra koyach, and even, listen carefully, even if she does not present him with the actual ksuba, she just says, Baal Peh. She says, where's the money that you owe me? And he says, I paid you. We don't believe him. We say that he has to pay. My time, why is that? Why don't you believe the husband? Well, feminism, what's going on here? A choiv created by Beis Din, it's as if she's holding a shtar in her hands. She has a virtual, invisible shtar in her hands, right? Meaning, she has no shtar in her hands. She has no ksuba. Where's your ksuba? I don't care. I don't have the ksuba here. He has to pay her. She claims we believe her and not him. Now, what about some, men's rights? So wait, she can do it 10 times, Every time she'll claim, I need maksub again and again. Where's the shtar? No need for a shtar. Very nice. Nice, 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 nice. Although it's really not so simple, the story of receipt in halacha, and I'll explain why later. The shovar is nice, 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 nice. Very good. The husband is the one and who's going to demand the receipt upon paying your ksuba. But still, there's a chiddush here. What's the chiddush? The Gemara says, I think it was the Sugyan Bava Basra, to say that you should just get the receipt, although we're very used to it, every shop you go to, you get the receipt, 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 receipt. It's not so simple in halacha. What do I mean? When you tell the wife she can be'etzem collect her ksuba verbally, balpeh, without having the ksuba, that's a lot of power for her, because now the onus is on him to keep the shtar min ha'achbarim, from the mice, as the Gemara says. In other words, I'm the one, the husband, who has to keep the receipts very, very well, right? Because as long as my receipt is with me, I'm fine. But once the receipt is lost, because his new child from his new wife, made on the on the shtar or ate up the shtar, I don't know, the dog ate it, then the shovar, then again the wife can always threaten him and recharge. So he gave more koich to the woman. Why? Because it's a ma'ase based. Mechavurus explained, I think, based on Stam and Rabosha really, that the idea is part of the koyach Chachamim gave to the woman by giving her ksuba is empowering her that the ksuba should be a super duper strong shtar, that even without presenting it, it's as if you presented it and you can charge it without presenting it. Big chiddush. When it comes to regular loan, I have to show you the shtar. And we don't always say the receipt. In other words, in regular halvois, in regular halvo, if I'm a tough loive, I'll say, no, I'm not giving you back the money until you give me back the shtar. We discussed it before, right? Maybe he can say, no, I lost it and I'll give you a receipt. No, why should I have the onus of keeping the receipt all my life, right? And keep it from the mice? No, I'm not giving you. I'm asking for the shtar back and I'll tear the shtar. Here in ksuba, he cannot do that. In ksuba, she can verbally charge it, and if he wants a receipt, that's his responsibility. Okay, to keep the shovel, to keep the shovel all the time. She bets and can always charge it. I mean, hopefully she'll be honest, but we don't know. But she can charge ksuba without having anything in writing. And soon we'll see that's going to develop to a very logical case later. The same Rabbi Chia bar Abba who quoted Rabbi Yochanan is now asking something on Rabbi Yochanan. He's asking, what's the chiddush? Rabbi, very nice what you're saying. Isn't a Mefursha Mishnah? Why do you have to tell me, Rabbi Yochanan in the Moira, why do you have to tell me something that's written in the Mishnah? What does it say in the Mishnah in Kesubos? It says over there, Metzia get, a woman took out a get, presented the get in Beis Din, because she wants is what? The ksuba. The anima ksuba. There's no ksuba with a get. Just the get itself. Goiva ksubasa. She can take the ksuba as long as she proves that she is divorced, therefore is owed ksuba. Even though the ksuba shtar itself is gone, the husband says, where's the ksuba? I don't have it, none of your business. And Mimela what? She can charge with a get, proving that she's divorced from him without the ksuba. Oh, so you see, Rabbi Yochanan, you see that you're right, but you're so right that ksuba is unnecessary, meaning the shtar ksuba is unnecessary. And it's written in the Mishnah. So thank you for saying this, but what's the big chiddush? I know it already from the Mishnah. Imagine yourself, I would come here today to you and tell you, big chiddush, not allowed to eat chazir. Wow. What's going on? What's the chiddush? Answers Rabbi Yochanan, no. Omerle, answers Rabbi Yochanan to Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Ilav de loch chaspa, if not for me, he's using an allegorical language. If not for me picking up the piece of clay, piece of cheap clay, loy mashkachas marganisa tuta, you wouldn't have found the pearl underneath. Which means it's true that the Mishnah means what I said, but the Mishnah is not saying what I say outright. There is another way to read the Mishnah, as we'll see later on. There is another way to read the Mishnah. So you're very smart now to tell me what's the chiddush, because after reading the Mishnah with my glasses, with the chiddush I gave you, now you know to read the Mishnah very nicely. But if not for me showing you megala es einecha, lightening your eyes, taking off the garbage from the beautiful pearl, you wouldn't have seen the pearl. Which means there is another way to read the Mishnah, as we'll see later. only through my glasses, the chiddush I told you, now you're very smart to tell me that, you can see it in the Mishnah. But if not from my perush, if not from my shir, you wouldn't have known that. So now, but Tosfos points out, by the way, that in the sea, there are, Tosfos takes it there literally, he says that in the bottom of the sea, there's avonim rechovos, there's wide stones, like pebbles, and underneath them are the pearls we know are in the sea, the oysters. The oyster. Yeah, I'm saying, but he says there's also sometimes there's like stones on top of them, and you remove them and you find them. So, in any event, that's what we're saying. So far, what did Rabbi Yochanan say? Chiddush, here is the first shtar in Jewish history called Ketubah that without being presented can be charged. The money can be taken from the other side, from the one owing, which is Mr. Husband. Amar Abaye. Now Abaye comes to argue with Rabbi Yochanan, and then he'll change his skin again. Amar Abaye, Ma'amer Ganisa. What's the big peril over here? I don't see any pearls in the sea at all. I don't see Bechlad that the Mishnah agrees with Rabbi Yochanan. I did not find that pearl, he says, sarcastically maybe. He's saying what? I don't see that the Mishnah proves Rabbi Yochanan at all. There are two different cases, meaning, Dilma, perhaps, he says, again, he's not rejecting Rabbi Yochanan, right? But rejecting the proof to Rabbi Yochanan, as I tell you many, many times. You know what? In some places, I'm not saying halacha l'maisa, I'm not saying the practice side, but in some places they don't write ksubah. Meaning, we know, as we said, even without writing you or the ksubah, why wasting time? Everybody's hungry already. No smorgasbord in Israel. They want to have the meal. Why should we waste time on the ksubah? I'm joking. Why should we waste time on the ksubah? No ksubah. In some places they don't write ksubah, right? It's just not written. There is no such document called ksubah. It's only a verbal agreement that there will be ksubah because Chazal force you. The get ksubah, so it's not exactly only verbal. When a woman does not get a ksubah, and that's the way it's supposed to be, the get serves as ksubah, meaning, says Abaye, it's very clear. Once you get it clear, it's clear. Says Abaye, you always have to have a document in order to take money from the other side. That document has different shapes and forms and different ways of morphing itself. In some places, a woman doesn't get a ksubah. What does she have? She has a get. She presents the get, and the mere fact she is divorced, shows that really very good. Then she gives him the get, and she'll get the money of the ksubah. But she has to present him with something. Very good. Now, aval b'mokim shekoisvin ksubah, in a place where the right ksubah is supposed to be there. Most places I know the right ksubah, and the ksubah is expected, and it was written there 20 years ago when everything was so nice and they loved each other. Inakita ksubah gavia, eloi la gavia. Then I disagree with Rabbi Yochanan. I say no. If she presents the ksubah, she'll get the money like a good girl. If she does not present it, she will not get it like any other normal shtar. In other words, you can argue, you're coming with a new idea, Rabbi Yochanan. You may be right, may be wrong, but don't tell me it's proven from that Mishnah. Maybe that Mishnah spoke about a place, l'chatchila ksubah is not supposed to be there. It will be very foolish to ask, where is ksubah? Well, I live in Kuchamuchka, Iowa, where they don't write ksubas. So my only substitute for ksubah is a get, and a get I do have, right? We'll see later. Maybe I'll ask her for the get, right? There'll be kilu, he'll get the get, or she'll tear the get, and that's it, done deal, right? The get is in lieu of the ksubah. But to say like you that there a place where ksubah is written and she holds it in her pocket and she's not presenting it and she gets the money, we never found such a thing. Lo Metzia dover kazeh. That's what Abaye claims as a possible rejection of Rabbi Yochanan's novel idea. Hadar Omar Abaye. Then Abaye regretted and changed his mind. Lav mil sahid de amri. What I said is wrong. Says Abaye, I was wrong. Abaye says, no, actually, it's wrong to say what I assumed, how I assumed to learn the Mishnah, not like Rabbi Yochanan, must be wrong. You tell me, people, before we continue, what are the two classical situations in which a woman gets a ksubah without getting too smart? Divorce or death. D. Divorce, death, and husband name was Didi. Yeah, in other words, divorce or death. Last time I checked, a woman whose husband died He didn't give her a document that I'm dead. There's no such thing as death document in the times of the Gemara, yeah? That obviously leads us to a whole new understanding. Continues Abai to reject his own opinion, Abai switching sides, careful, Abai switching sides to be like Rabbi Yochanan now. And he proves why he was wrong. If you want to tell me, if you want to explain the Mishnah with a get, that ksuba is not written there, but a get is written, but you have to have a paper. In a place where ksuba is written, then in Nikita ksuba gavia, iloi, loy gavia, then if she presents the ksuba, she gets the money. If she doesn't present it, she doesn't get it, which means you always want a piece of paper from the woman before she gets her ksuba, then you're stuck big time in case of death. Almana, if so, almana mina erusin b'may gavia. Why mina erusin? Leave it for later. Right now, the question is almana mina erusin, meaning what? As everybody here in the room knows, I think, erusin does not mean, it's very nice. So, the Gabbai always makes us happy to say Mazel Tov for the erusin of so and so. That means engagement. We all know engagement, or we have today, is not the erusin in halacha. Erusin is Aret Mukadeshes Li, right? Usually done about a year before the chupah, right? After the erusin, which is also called the K word, kiddushin. Erusin and kiddushin are absolutely the same. Erusin / kiddushin are done usually a year or so, like Hasidim, but the other, yeah. But when a year before the chupah, and during that year she's a full Ashes ish, but they don't live together. She never yet cooked him supper or breakfast. They don't yet live together. They did not, as you say in nice English, consummate the marriage in the times of erusin. What happened? Lo aleinu rachmana litzlan piguim stories. He died during the erusin. She was already mekudesh to him. She's his wife. If she's mezana, she gets chenek or skila, depends on the age. But he died suddenly, not suddenly, he died, and she became almana, a widow, between the kiddushin and the chupah. Yeah, she was his wife, but that stage of chupah, of consummating the marriage, of living together, that never yet happened. The assumption now, the assumption will be explained very nicely. The assumption now is as follows: that ksuba already starts from kiddushin. Okay, ksuba does begin from kiddushin. It's a verbal ksuba, yeah, okay, but she's owed the ksuba. She's owed the ksuba already from when she's mekudeshes. The marriage never really took place. They never were misyached together, yeah, and he died. Now she comes to collect her ksuba with what document? Nothing. There is no document. Why? Because we assume ksuba wasn't given to her, and get wasn't given to her, right? Ksuba wasn't given to her because it's only erusin, and get wasn't given to her because it wasn't a divorce. They loved each other, right? So that woman, according to you, is going to get stuck. Let's start the first wide line. Mina erusin b'ma'agavia. According to me, Abaye, according to my old svara, you always need a document. So tough. Which document that poor girl has? The Ede Mrs. Baal. The only way she can be goyve is Ede Mrs. Baal. She has to go to, by the way, to his family. What did she charge the ksuba from, by the way? From his family. They have no children. He's a young guy. Who are his heirs? His father. The father is the next one after the children. She comes to her so-called father-in-law, right? And she says, give me the money. Who says? I have Adim. I have Adim that my husband died. Okay, but according to me, yeah, if she needs a document, liton v'leima paratia, the father representing the dead husband's side would say, it was paid already, show me a document, show me, it was paru already. Because I, Abaye, and I would kilu support it, because Abaye is the one who says that if you don't present the paper, people can prove to me that I really owe you. And if you want to tell me, yes, maybe really the father has the power to claim that he paid, and maybe we just believe him that he's an honest person, the Yoresh. If so, what did Chachamim add? How would Chachamim help with their takana? Chachamim added takana, midarabonon. By the way, you should know ksuba, even the basic ksuba is a mechloikes, whether it's the rice or the rabbonon. Going a little bit on tangent. Just yesterday night, when I was doing the parsha of this parshas of the parsha of this week, the Ramban holds that ksuba is the rabbanon, even the basic one, with asmachta. But the rabbanon, others say it's doraisa. In any event, that's for sure that chachamim force a ksuba. What do you force a ksuba for? It's a joke. Says Rashi, not every person, some people are honest. Many people would say, I paid, even though they didn't pay. It's a joke. You hear what I'm saying? If you say that Chachamim established that poor almana from the Erusin may get her ksuba, but practically you present a piece of paper, without a piece of paper, they can say, go home, we paid you. Many people, unfortunately, would abuse that. So there's no takana. The takana has no teeth, as we say in Hebrew. There's no holding, which means that's a proof of Abaye. To go back to who? Must be Rabbi Yochanan was right. And the ksuba can be taken, can be charged verbally without presenting any shtar. And that would help the almana. The almana has no shtar because from the erusin you don't write the shtar. So we assume now, right? And there's no shtar whatsoever. And all she has no shtar divorce. Which divorce? She loved him. He died in a car accident. Yeah. Elamai, what's happening? It's all verbal. Rabbi Yochanan is my man, says Abai, switching sides. Yes. Now Rabbi Yochanan, who said that a woman may charge a ksuba without any shtar, that helps an almana in a erusin. Almana merusin is the one stuck between the cracks because there is no ksuba yet written. There's ksuba owed, but there's no shtar ksuba written. You have to understand that, and there's no divorce. So she's a paperless woman, not paperless office. She's paperless woman. How would she charge her ksuba? Oh, Rabbi Yochanan comes to the rescue. Rabbi Yochanan is a knight in a shining armor saying, yeah, a woman can take her ksuba without any shtar, and that's good. And says Abai, that's why I was wrong, and Rabbi Yochanan was right. Quick. Right. Omer leMakshisha Breda of Chizda Ravashi. Rav Kshisha Breda of Chizda asked Ravashi, well, first of all, Abaye made a lot of assumptions here. What are the assumptions? First of all, that Almono gets a ksuba, or at least a verbal agreement of a ksuba, or maybe even a written ksuba. Well, she doesn't. We assume there's no written ksuba, right? From the erusin. We also assume that she deserves to get the ksuba, even though the marriage never really took place. Yeah, she never made him not even one omelet. Where's this? Almonim and erusin the isla ksuba minolan. Excuse the heretical question, but how do you know that Almonim and erusin gets a ksuba? How do you know? How do you know that Almona, meaning a woman whose husband died before anything really happened, how do you know she gets a ksuba? How do you know anything was promised and anything will be fulfilled? You're assuming things. If you want to tell me from the following Mishnah, Ditnan, I seemingly have a Mishnah to support that idea. Look what the Mishnah says. This Mishnah needs careful reading. Nis'al Milo. What's Nis'al Milo? Became an Almona. She was widowed, or Nisgarsha, or she got divorced. Then mina erusin. Erusin. She was widowed from erusin, meaning between kiddushin and the chupah takes a year. He died in the middle. Oh, that's our case. That's nice. Uben mina nisuin, all the more so from nisuin. Goiva esakoil. What's esakoil? What I think hakol means in Hebrew everything. What do you mean everything? Says Rashi, ksuba has. I wanted to say two parts. Ksuba has mainly two parts. There's a basic ksuba of either 100 and 200 zuz, 1 or 2 monim, which is not so much. According to Ashkenazim, it's a very small amount of money. And there is a tosefes ksuba. Many times it's accepted, but not obligatory to write an extra. I was once in chuppahs, write millions. No, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. As by Sephardi chuppah, there was very large amount of money in the ksuba. That is like the chassan's own, voluntary idea. As we saw yesterday, remember that they promised her a fancy garment, right? And they lied to her. In other words, a chassan may end, it's a rich guy, wants to show he loves her, it's a covet thing. And actually, I was once at a chuppah where they fought under the chuppah. I'm not making it up. I once at a chuppah, they actually had, they raised the voices in each other, the two sides, because one side wanted the chassan side to write more in the ksuba, and they changed it under the chuppah. It was the hot-headed people. I remember it till today. And then Sheva Brochas, the Megiddo said, it's so nice to see how they keep the minhag with such enthusiasm. It's very nice. A guy, a very fine guy in my yeshiva, a good friend of mine, my roommate. I'm not saying who, you wouldn't know. So now, Lamaisa, what? It's a deterrent for him not to get divorced, right? Yeah, they changed. They wrote extra. I promise you. I'm not making. I saw it with my own eyes. So now goy vesakol means what? And almana minha erusin. Lo aleinu, he died before they got to the chupah to the cheder yichud. So she gets everything. Everything meaning she gets both the basic 100 or 200 and the extra that he added voluntarily called tosefes ksuba. She gets everything. Oh, so you see, I'm right. Here, Abba is right. You see a girl, right? Almonim and Erusin, and she gets a heck of amount of money. So we're good. Frag the Gemara, deal meicha the Kosovlo. Your whole idea by was, right? What was the by story? He assumed that Almonim and Erusin, at the time of the Erusin, there's a verbal agreement, not written, right? That's what we're scared she's going to lose because she has no papers. How do you know she has no papers, Abaye? Maybe he wrote a ksuba. Maybe he wrote her ksuba. He wrote, I owe you ksuba. I owe you 100, 200, and I owe you more than 200. I owe you another extra million and a fancy dress. Yeah, I owe everything. And that's why if he died too early before the chasana, then she rakes it all in. Says the Gemara, if so, what's the chiddush? If a person writes to his friend, I owe you $1,000,000, yeah, if I write to Yitzchak, I'm writing a shtar, I owe you $1,000,000, I wish, yeah? Then, although, nobody's getting married over here, but I still owe you. What's the chiddush? If the husband wrote to his wife, not husband, if the chosen wrote to the kala, I owe you 100, 200 million, of course he owes it to her. Right? What's the chiddush? It's written. The whole vort must be what? That it's Baal Peh, like Abaye. There was what? There was it wasn't written, and he owes it to her, the Rabbanon. Rabbanon forced it. He didn't mention it b'chlal. No, stupid. No, I said something foolish. He didn't talk about ksuba b'chlal at the Erusin, but Chazal forced it. Chazal forced him to have the standard ksuba, right? To have the standard ksuba, and that is even though he died before the chasana, the standard ksuba is there, and that's exactly what Abai is saying. Abai says there is a standard amount of money that she's owed without him saying everything, because Chazal forced it. Must be, because if he wrote it to her, what's a chiddush? Anybody who writes to anybody, whichever gender, whichever situation, if I write to her, 5 million, 5 million. What's the chiddush? It's a default with the Rabbanon. Default chiyuv the Rabbanon to always have the, and that's exactly what Abai is looking for. Abai is looking for a case in which there's not, verbal is not a good word. There's a default chiyuv with the Rabbanon. Are you mechuyev to wear tefillin? Yes. You have to put on tefillin. Nobody's asking you. Just like he has to give her the money. And that's what's going on here. Says the Gemara, no. Could be really, he did write her the ksuba. If he wrote her, then what's the chiddush? Our Mishnah comes to argue on Rabloza ben Azariah. We're now saying that he did write her ksuba with a tosefes, not only 200, oh my dear, wonderful kala, extra million, yeah? And if he died before the marriage was consummated, he has to give her 200 plus the million. And that is a chiddush. You owes her. It's a chiddush. That disagrees with Rabloza ben Azariah. The Omar, Rabloza ben Azariah says something very logical, which is halacha. Why do I write to you an extra million? Why? Because I hope that one day we'll be living together. And if after we live together, even one night, one whatever, you get what I'm saying, yeah? After that, I consummated the marriage. I'm happy to be with you. If I die or divorce, then I'll pay you the million. But if the marriage never really happened, yeah, they only have phone calls and emails, nothing really happened yet, then what? Then who says Rabloza ben Azariah, he doesn't owe her the extra. The basic 200 is owes her, is stuck. That's default. But the extra million, yeah, that is an issue of machlekes. Rabloza ben Azariah says he doesn't owe her hakol. He only owed the basic if the marriage wasn't consummated, wasn't really fulfilled. We come chachamim to talk against Rabloza ben Azariah. It's trichalei. We come to say no. Dai kanami. I'm continuing right away, and it's meduik in the words of the Mishnah. The ktani goyva is hakoil. What's hakoil? What's hakoil? The Mishnah is not beautiful baruch, amazing. The Mishnah comes to tell me we unlike Rabloza ben Azariah, we believe that a chassid who stands starry-eyed, not by the chupah, but a kiddushin ceremony, giving it the ring and saying, he did say, besides the basic that nobody's asking him, he said also, I'm giving you an extra million, forever and ever, million in case this. He says Rabloza ben Azariah, if he dies before the marriage actually happened, He doesn't know the extra million, it's a separate but only the basic. Come us and we say Chachamim, not like Bloza ben Azariah, and we say, and he wrote it to her, I'm sorry, he wrote it to her the million. He wrote the whole thing. Come Chachamim and say, the owes her call. If he died before the actual marriage, before the Nisuin, he owes her everything, down to the last dime, the last penny, quarter. Because why? Because we believe that the whole thing is included and will be paid to her even before the consummation. And we continue. The cost of law. If you say that he wrote the whole thing down, he wrote 100, 200, plus 200. She's a psula, let's say, plus a million. Makes sense. She's going everything. She's going everything that's written in the Shtar. If you say that he did not write, then my goy v'esakol. There is no goy v'esakol. If nothing was written, and we only base ourselves on what? On what Chazal prescribed. Chazal did not prescribe an extra million. Only money u'masaimu de isla. She only has 100 or 200. Let's summarize. Don't get confused. It's very, very clear. Basically, we pull the rug under Abai's feet by saying what? By saying like this. Not Abai, Chas v'shalom, Abai Svara. You, Abaye, wanted to switch sides and support Rabbi Yochanan by saying, look, Rabbi Yochanan must be right, that a woman must, or be able to, if she wants to, charge the ksuba, get the ksuba money without papers. Because look, here I have a case of a poor girl, who is an almonim in the erusin. She did not receive a ksuba, written one at the erusin, and there's no get. He died. Fine, stuck between the chairs. We say in Hebrew, between the cracks. Yeah, fell between the cracks. So must be she can charge it balpeh. Say the other Amoraim challenge Abaye and they win. No, Abaye, you did not prove to us that girl actually did not get a shtar. And Almonim in the Erusin that you saw in the Mishnah that was against her Bloza ben Azariah is a girl who did get the ksuba. In other words, Almona, a girl, not Almona, a girl in the Erusin, not Almona. Everything looked so bright and promising when he gave her the ring, and the birds were chirping and the sun was shining, right? At that very moment, what happened then? There was a written ksuba. And the chiddush is, what's the chiddush of written ksuba? No, of course it's a chiddush. The marriage wasn't consummated. No, of course it's a chiddush. A boy or his father, the father would say, I'm very heartbroken, my son died. Yeah, and you want your ksuba? What for? Your marriage never happened. Says Bloza ben Azariah. And that is the halacha, by the way. Say chachamim, no. If she got a written ksuba in her hands, although the marriage never really happened, she can take everything, including the extra million. And that's a heck of a chiddush by itself. But your case, Abaye, you're claiming that there's always there's always a ksuba that she's supposed to be getting without having anything written? No, that we never saw. We never saw that Chazal Bichlal imposed on anybody to give her money. Zero. Not even the 100. Zero. If a guy wrote from the Erusin, it's up to debate how far do we go if she did not actually come under the chupah because he died. Better. But Lemaisa, 1 second. Lemaisa, we did not prove. We don't have a case. We do not prove that there is a case in which an almana gets a suba without having anything written, and we don't have that default, what we call Maisa Bezdin. There is no Maisa Bezdin. There is no general rule chiyuv midarabanon on a choson, yeah, to give the kalik suba before the marriage happened. No, not at all. And mimela, you Abaye, you don't have a proof. You're not wrong, but your proof is not a proof. There is no such case of that girl who falls between the chairs. 4 more minutes, and then we'll. Okay, quick. Okay. You're next. Yeah. Yeah.
Every hospital all over the world.
Yeah, a minute. Just to finish off the shir, yeah, and tomorrow, Mr. Hashem Yudches, I only realized about 5-6 years ago when I went to the Torah and Rabboni course and we learned this in Yonim, why is it really that today we don't do it like in the olden days? Why is it that today they do everything in one go? Why is it that today they do the kiddushin together with the chupah? In the olden days, it was kiddushin. She was his wife, and she would get ready for the chasana 12 months. And a year later would be the chupah. Why do they do everything, one-stop shop? Is it just because today we're more, we'd like to hasten things? What? In case you're unaware. I'll tell you why. In case that girl, chas v'shalom, during that year, lo aleinu, she all of a sudden becomes very friendly with a male neighbor or male friend or male somebody from the university who is not her husband. I do call him husband. Then what happens? Then the kids that she has from him will be mamzerim for sure. That'll be a terrible thing. Why? If the girl is married to her husband and she has relations with the husband on a regular basis, it says roiv be'ilas achar abal. Then even if we suspect that woman to chas v'shalom have an affair, we assume that the children are not mamzerim. Why? Because even if a woman chas v'shalom did a terrible thing and went, astray, lamaisa most be'ilos, most relations, or what we call it in English, are achar bal, probably the husband. So roiv, most of the time she's with someone is the husband. We go by the roiv and we say that her kids are probably from the husband. But if she's a girl who, with her own chosen slash husband, she doesn't live with him, then we don't have that cover anymore. Then if in case anything happens, then her kids, she's pregnant too early, and then we can't assume it's her fiance slash husband because she doesn't live with him. Yeah, and Mimela, in that case, there could be mamzerim. So to avoid mamzerim is to say, let's just do everything in one go. If she gets pregnant before the kiddushin, then she's a pnuya. A single girl who has relations, the kid is not a mamzer, right? Unless it's her brother or something, yeah? And Mimela, the most dangerous time for a girl to have relations outside illegal ones is in the times of kiddushin, right? Because she is an Eshesish, so the kid is a mamzer, and she doesn't have the coverage of Rabbi Lasachar Baal. So to avoid that dangerous tekufa, to avoid that, we said, come on, let's just do one-stop shop everything, and also you have to have a smorgasbord chiyuv dorais. Unless it's immaculate conception. We're Jewish, we don't have these things,